How y'all doing today? Good afternoon. Here I am in Smyrna, Georgia, and it's raining outside. I come a long way from Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago. Lived in Virginia for 11 years. Lived in Chesapeake, and now I'm here back in Georgia, where I came when I was a teenager. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world still to this day. With the end of June, uh, tomorrow is July 1st. And I'm doing this Conversations in C minor YouTube page, and recording music on my own. I have a lot of time on my hands and just getting something started. But anyway, today I want to talk about the Rolling Stones. Damn right. First album that I own, that I have. This is the first album that they did. Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones came out in England with Brian Jones, Charlie Watts, Keith Richards, Bill Wyman, Mick Jagger. And yeah, let's look at this. This is a great album. Yeah, let's gets off with Route 66, but I'm not going to talk too much about this. This is the first album. This is the album that started it off for them in England. And it's called, in England, in the United States, it's called England's Newest Hit Makers. And it starts off with Not Fade Away. That's on that one, but it's not on this one. Okay. They went through a lot. Went through Satisfaction. That was their biggest hit. And Had Time on My Side and Heart of Stone, things like that. They were a serious band by that time. But this is the first album that came out with that was all Mick and Keith Richards writing capacity here. This one, Aftermath. And this is the one people were comparing it with the Beatles. Aftermath. And you see it. Aftermath. Has painted black on it. Flight 505. And Under My Thumb is another one on this album. It's one of the greatest ones they've ever did as well. Back in those days, in that era, Brian Jones was playing, marimbas and all kind of stuff. And Brian Jones was a multi-instrumentalist, but he got into drugs and too much stuff going on in the 60s for him. But this is a great album. This was when the Stones started getting serious. Aftermath came out in 66. Yeah, 1966 it came out. What I'm talking about. I know that. And the next one after that, Let's Spend a Night Together, Ruby Tuesday, is on this one. Between the Buttons, 1967. And again, Brian Jones is all over this album, and Keith and Mick and everything. But Brian Jones is a multi-instrumentalist, and he brings up some of these songs. Let's Spend the Night Together and the Ruby Tuesday. He co-wrote it. He didn't get the credit for it, but he co-wrote the song, and it's a great record. She Smiles Sweetly. Man, this is a great record. This is a good record. This is before they got to the heavy period. Like I say, we can go over this. We go over. If maybe I might do Zeus. This is Zeus, by the way. Stop it, Zeus. I'll start going over one album at a time after I do this stuff, and we'll do that a little later. The next album they came out with was they was trying to compete with the Beatles. Came out with was the Satanic Majesty's Secret Request. This is a psychedelic album. This has She's a Rainbow on it, and 2,000 Light Years from Home, and Citadel, which is the 3 songs on the album. That's the shit. But look at this. Imagine you doing drugs back in '67, looking at this and doing this. Yeah, the Satanic Majesty's Secret Request, 1967, Rolling Stones. This is a good album. Well, it's okay, but it's if you're drenched in psychedelia, it's a great album. If you love psychedelia. Okay. They came out with Jumpin' Jack Flash as a single in May of 68, the year that I was born. Don't say that too loud, the year that I was born. Then they came out with this one. Beggars Banquet. They started, Jimmy Miller started producing them. It got a little bit raunchy, more bluesier on this, or more country blues a little bit. With my song on here, Straight Cat Blues. No Expectations, Salt of the Earth. And it also features the iconic Simply for the Devil. But those other songs are just as good as that and just as important as that, you know. Beggars Banquet, Jimmy Miller first produced it in 1968. And they say that people say this is the beginning of a certain period, you know, but I love all the periods, so I don't get into that it began at a certain period thing. The next album, one of my personal favorites, Let It Bleed, with my track, you know, Monkey Man. Monkey Man. Monkey Man. Now you see it? Yeah, there we go. Monkey Man. Give me shelter. Live with me. Come on now, honey, don't you want to live with me? Yeah, that's that one. Live with me. There we go. Let It Bleed, baby. Let It Bleed. 1969. And they got rid of Brian Jones, and Brian Jones had passed away between Beggars Banquet and Let It Bleed. And it was a dark time for them. And they got Mr. Mick Taylor to play the second guitarist with Keith. And he appears on one song on his album, Live With Me, but he was on the tour. So the tour, they did one live album. They did a live album, and that's going to be the only live album I'm going to talk about. Get your yah-yahs out. With the live version of Straight Cat Blues and Love in Vain, which features Mick Taylor's good lead guitar playing. And Keith is rocking it too. He started playing in open G, open E, using the capo a lot and doing different things. And it's Keith and Mick Taylor on this album. And Mick Jagger is all over the place doing this tour. But this is the first tour they did with arenas and, you know, their own PA system and everything. And so they decided to cut a live album. All right. They started the record company as well. They moved out of England, started a record company, and Mick Taylor was integrated into the band. It was the first album they did with Mick Taylor as a full member, as far as in the studio. Sticky Fingers, 1971's Sticky Fingers. Now, my song on here is Sway. It's just that Demon Life got you in the sway. And this goes all the way to Moonlight Mile, Wild Horses, Can't You Hear Me Knocking, and of course Brown Sugar. I Got the Blues, baby. I Got the Blues for You. And this is an album that started off a whole new era for them and a whole new, you know, they didn't sound like the old days, you know, the Ruby Tuesday days. They became another band at this time, just one member. Then they had, Bobby Keys playing sax, Jim Price playing trumpet and stuff like that. So, yeah, there it was, Sticky Fingers. They won. The next album after that, 1972's double album, Exile on Main Street with Ventilator Blues, Loving Cup, and Tumbling Dice, and Rocks Off. Is some of my favorite stuff on this album. Let It Loose is another song on this album that's underrated, that's amazing. And of course, one of the greatest songs they ever did, of course, on this record is Shine a Light, you know, with Billy Preston playing organ. And you can't beat that. But this is a great album. Double album. Mick Taylor still in the band, rocking out. You know, Rolling Stones, baby, 1972. Exile on Main Street. You gotta get it. They went to Jamaica to record after that, and they came up with 1973's Goat's Head Soup, which contains 100 Years Ago and Dancing with Mr. D, Heartbreaker, Mick Taylor, amazing lead. One of the great songs on here too, Winter. Winter is an amazing song. His guitar playing and feel on Winter is one of the best feels on guitar that I've heard. You know, people talk about the Allman Brothers and Dwayne Allman, all these people. I'm talking about, what about Mick Taylor? You know what I'm saying? Mick Taylor was the man. I'm not from the South, so it's one of those things. I'm from Chicago, so I don't know. But anyway, just saying, a lot of people, they give all these other guitars, Joe Bossamana and all these people. It's like, talk about Mick Taylor playing. Mick Taylor is the man, and just my personal opinion. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I know how sensitive people are sometimes, But Mick Taylor is the man. Goat's Head Soup, 1973. The last album that Mick Taylor did with them, 1974's It's Only Rock and Roll, with his magnum opus, Time Waits for No One guitar solo. And then If You Really Want to Be My Friend has a great guitar solo on it. Fingerprint File, If You Can't Rock Me. They wore out Jimmy Miller by this point, and they produced this album themselves. This is the first album they used, that they Mick and Keith's side, production name, the Glimmer Twins. And so this was the first one, 1974's It's Only Rock and Roll. And the title track, of course, I didn't even mention that song. But Time Waits for No One, for me, is the magnum song for this album, man. This is a great one. So Mick Taylor left the band. They was auditioning guitar players and this and that, and they were auditioning Ronnie Wood by the time they started making this album. He had toured with them on the It's Only Rock and Roll tour in 1975. Ronnie had played with them at that time. He was playing on Mick Taylor parts. And beginning of that year, the middle of that year and beginning of 76, they're recording this one, Black and Blue. Black and Blue, baby. A Fool to Cry on this record. Hand of Fate. Hey Negrita, which Ronnie played lead guitar on, is amazing. Crazy Mamas on this album. Memory Motel is one of my favorite ones off this album. Then that Memory Motel. Black and Blue, 1976, the Rolling Stones. Like I said, if you're a guitar player, man, that song Hey Negrita guitar, that lick on Hey Negrita is funky. Check it out. And also, what is it? Hot Stuff and Melody, Billy Preston playing keyboards. So I didn't even mention Billy Preston. He played keyboards on Sticky Fingers. I Got the Blues. He played on Shine a Light, Exile. He played on Goat's Head Soup, Heartbreaker, and Dancing Mr. D, and 100 Years Ago. But he's all on this album as well. Billy Preston, 1976, Black and Blue. After that, they went, let me pick it up. They went to another thing, and they got rid of Billy Preston and got rid of some of the sidemen they had. They used Nicky Hopkins and stuff, and they stripped down and came back with 1978's Some Girls. Some Girls, of course, Miss You, Beast of Burton, Respectable, some songs like that. Faraway Eyes, more Mick and Keith's bit, more Mick and Keith. And, it's like a guitar album, really. Great album. Follow-up to Some Girls is this one here, 1980's Emotional Rescue, which I love the song. The first song on this album, Dance Part 1, is a great dance song and rocking dance song if you like that kind of stuff. If not, just skip past it. But I think you'll like it. She's So Cold is on this album. The song Emotional Rescue on this album, which is almost like a disco-y. Part two, To Miss You, 2 years later, 1980, Emotional Rescue. The Stones, baby. Great record. I think it's a great record. And like I say, I don't compare this to Sticky Fingers and this and that. I go on, I love it all. Next album, 1981's Tattoo You. Can I take you to the top, baby? Yeah, Tops on here. Slave. Man, side 2 is an amazing record itself. Worried About You is on side 2. Of course, this contains the massive hit, Start Me Up and Waiting on a Friend. But Tops and Heaven and No use in crying is what you need in your life as a musician. This is a great song and great songwriting on this. Like I said, through all these years, the songwriting has been good with the Stones, man. They as a songwriter, they're second only to Lennon and McCartney. As far as that goes. 1983, Undercover. What you know about this? Did anybody know anything about Undercover? She's so hot. She was hot. She was hot. Undercover. Too much blood. Too tough. This is a great one. Well, She Was Hot is my favorite song on this album. It's just a rocker, Chuck Berry rock style at its best. Piano, great changes on it. She Was Hot. And then the title track, Undercover of the Night, was on here as well. Yes, it was. 1986. It's when one of the first album that I bought by them when I moved to Georgia, and I saw them Let's Spend a Night Together live video on HBO back in '85, and I bought this album when it first came out, and the first single on this was Harlem Shuffle. And the song "Dirty Work," this album gets talked about a lot, and people say this album sucks, but look how colorful it is. Look at them on the cover, Harlem Shuffle, Winning Ugly. Then Keith's Sleep Tonight on here is amazing too. Keith's Sleep Tonight is the last song on the album, and it's probably one of the best songs that he's ever written. It's a ballad, but he loads about all of that type of stuff. All right, let's be loud one. 1989's Steel Wheels. Mixed Emotions, baby. Slipping Away, Keith Richards song on here. Almost Hear You Sigh on here is bad. I saw them in concert this year in '89 at the Georgia Dome. The first time I ever saw them. I bought this album when it came out. Loved it ever since. Of course, you don't want to get into the whole comparing this to Exile or comparing to Sticky Fingers. It just doesn't. It's just another album by musicians that grew up, that grew from that era. You can't compare this type of thing. They came out in '94 Voodoo Lounge. I saw them then. I saw them twice on the Bridge to Babylon tour. They came out in '97. Voodoo Lounge came out in '94. Saw them at the Georgia Dome again. '97, I saw them twice. '99, they didn't come out with a studio album. They came out with a live album, No Security. I saw them twice that year. The 40 Licks tour, 2002, the 40th year anniversary, I saw them twice again. But I love the Stones, man. The guitar playing, whether it's Brian Jones was in the band, Mick Taylor was in the band, or Ronnie Wood. I'm a huge influence. I love all the playing on that, and they did some great things. I love the Stones. Like I say, the only other band that's more popular than them in certain ways. Well, there's a lot of bands popular, but more songwriting goes, and is the Beatles. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison. And I'm going to do them one of these days. But I had a good time doing the Stones, like I say. Everyone subscribe, like, and guitar players, learn them licks, play it as you got it. And love you all. Rolling Stones, Conversations in C minor, Curtis Davis, Conversations in C minor. Thank you so much.